All right, welcome to this week's Growth Intentions conversation. We're going to continue where we were last week, talking about the book by Jim Collins about what makes a business great and really stick in people's minds. And if you need a copy of the book, it's Under the Thread Growth Intentions. And there is a PDF download for that. And our special guest today, Sajad, who's joining us starting next week for 3 weeks in a row to talk about productivity in your business. And he has a couple topics and he's going to join us and kind of lead the conversation all about business growth and productivity. So that starts March 3rd, March 10th, and March 17th. He'll be joining us for that. So thank you, Sajad, for that.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. All right. So in the book, Built to Last, this book is based on 6 years of research into the most successful companies. And last week, we talked about the top 6 myths for, busting your business to the best, to that next level. And today we're going to pick up on myth number 7, that visionary companies are ultra conservative. And I just want to dispel that myth 110%. Right now, you don't have to be ultra conservative or professional, so to speak, or it doesn't have to take 30 years to become a success. And big players in their business use precise language, but it doesn't matter if that language is colorful, because your ideal clients will resonate with that. And if your goals are big and hairy enough and inspiring enough, your ideal clients are going to resonate with that as well. And if your business is in alignment with your core philosophy, you have those 3 things that will propel you ahead of 90% of businesses. So let's talk a little bit about being conservative or being more new age or not conservative. Hey, Jason, thanks for joining. You're really diving into the community, aren't you?
That's right.
I love it.
Too bad for you. You shouldn't have let me in.
I know.
Now there's no turning back.
I know, right? Now I'm stuck with you. I shouldn't have stalked you in the first place. God, just kidding. So let's talk about being conservative. Sajad is definitely not conservative. I am definitely not conservative. Where do you stand on that kind of ultra conservative to ultra? And I'm not talking political views here. I'm talking, do you let your true self out when you meet people, when you're at a networking event, when you connect with people? Do you give them a peek at the real you, or are you trying to be someone else to impress that person or sell that person or whatever? All right, the floor is yours. Let me hear it. What do you got? Go ahead, Judy. You don't have to raise your hand.
Well, trying to be polite for Sahaj.
Trying to be conservative, are you?
Yeah. No. When I switched from being an IT management to helping people rewrite subconscious beliefs, there was a definite difference in how people reacted to me when I said what I did, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a really good way for me to figure out who my people were. Mm. So I would go to networking meetings and I would say what I did, and the people who were interested, that's where I had traction. The people who weren't, those weren't my people. So it was a really good way, to say exactly what I do, which is pretty much tied to who I am, was a really good way of efficiently figuring out who I wanted to spend more time with.
Yeah. I love that. That resonates with me because, you know, trying to use someone else's words, you know, didn't work for me. So by showing up and saying, I help you, you know, get past the BS that's out there online and filter information and, you know, like, because I used my own language, it resonated with more people instead of trying to say it the way everybody else said it. I like that. Anyone else? Go ahead, David.
I just think it's interesting. I don't know if you and I were talking about this morning. I think we might have touched on it, but I was saying to somebody the other day maybe it's in between then, but anyway, about this power of Zoom and how I happen to be in Seattle, Washington, and I have my laptop and I can have like, here's 6 boxes, but it can be 50 boxes or 150. And so then you do breakout rooms and you meet people. And one of the things I find really interesting is in the last 5 or 6 years, I've met more really cool people, authentic, you know, people that want to make changes and have an impact in this life than probably my first 65 years before that combined. But I do find at the same time, Sajjad is a good example to me of somebody that is, whether you like him or not, I happen to like him. He's very authentic, and what you see is what you get. And so that's the kind of person I love to interact with because it's straightforward, it's authentic, it's truth back and forth. But then I get on these breakout rooms once in a while. I won't mention any names, of course. And it takes you about 10 or 15 seconds to figure out who you like and who you don't like. And some people are so full of crap that I just think, God, listen to this. And it's like, and so I just smile. Oh, that's great. Oh, great. And then they're so busy. And then you never get a word in edgewise. They're too busy talking. But the bottom line is you got to, you know, kiss a lot of frogs to get the prince and that kind of thing. So it's still a community that I'm excited to be in. But man, the authentic people really stand out. And that's what's really makes it all worth it.
So
Yeah.
a few people here know me. I don't know if I really don't know how I come across. I don't know if I come across as being authentic or an individual that you know, we all, okay, set that comment aside. I'm going to interrupt myself. Spending a lot of time conforming, assimilating as a lifestyle, and knowing that I don't do that all the time, but I know that that's part of just working in a group, you know, like in the hospitals with a team of nurses or working with patients.
Yeah, I
you
can
know,
say that too,
Suzanne.
coming from healthcare, we have that in common, Lisa, is that, you know, in healthcare, there's rules to follow. There's like a protocol to follow. You know, each patient, you do this, and you follow the steps and you do the steps and the steps are over and you reschedule them for next time, right? It's like, there's not a lot of room for originality in what you're doing.
Yes.
So I think translating that into, you know, having your own business, it becomes a little hard because nobody's giving you that protocol to follow.
Yeah. And I don't want to have a protocol to follow, but at the same time, it's a little more comfortable when there is that, because as you said, you know what to do next, but you do want to, in your own business, even though many people are doing the same thing, you know, there's more than one toothbrush manufacturer, but somehow you have to be comfortable with stepping away from the crowd and showing yourself. And and in that have to not worry about what the other person might be expecting from you, your customer might be expecting, and then trying to make yourself into that expectation. Right. I have to be able to, and this is new, and I like this concept at the very beginning of the whole thing. It's new to have to try to consciously be aware of what
Yeah. And
my
just
thoughts are.
just being yourself to the extent where, everybody says be yourself, be authentic, that's like a buzzword right now. But truly having a little bit of confidence in what you do and what you offer and who you are as a person translates into how you interact with people.
Yes.
Sajad, I know you have something to say.
Well, I've been going to self-esteem classes for the past 2 months. So I'm starting to break out of my shell.
It's wonderful. I see you did that with your naming of yourself today. Love it.
Thank you for your kind words, David. I appreciate it. I wasn't raised with positive reinforcement, so that always throws me off. I have to be conscious to recognize nice things when they're said to me. I think I put my notes there, as opposed to being somebody else, it's hiding your whole self, which I did for, that whole professional thing, which I think is very much heterosexual, white male professional of what that definition is. And I think things are changing, where much more weirdness and authenticity is now allowed. And you can, there's so many platforms where you don't have to go through mainstream mediums. And the more different you are, the better that is. The more that makes you stand out personally and in business, right?
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago, and she's like, why don't you put your shirt on for your TikToks? And I'm like, because I tried 3 months with a shirt, 3 months without a shirt, and without a shirt gets more views. And not cursing gets less views. And, starting with negative gets more like, you can't do this versus you can do it. You can't do this. And here's why, even though it's the same content in the message of, the added value part, the instructions the same, starting with there's things that are radically different than before that now work. When you attract who you are, this goes to something that, Judy said, you attract who you are, then if you are who you are, you will attract those who are attracted to you. And then you'll end up, and Susan, you said this last night, I love my clients. So do I. My clients are, from 24 years old to 72 years old, race, gender, sexuality, politics, religion, all different demographics, but they're all really smart. They're all intellectuals. They're all funny. They're all highly motivated. They all want to hear the truth, or the small t truth, at least. They are open to hearing different perspectives. They're able to agree to disagree. I don't think I would meet one of my clients at a bar and have a conversation about race, gender, politics, religion, or anything like that, society, and end up being friends with them. But, through the process of working together, we develop an intimate relationship, and we end up being usually friends at the end of my program. So yeah, and then it was Chaz Horn on LinkedIn. He's really, really popular. He has like 40,000 followers. I met with him last month. He said, you are the best in the world at repulsing the wrong people and attracting. And so, and a lot of people are too stupid to understand what I'm doing, because I know what I'm doing.
Oh my God. I was just going to share that. It was a couple weeks ago now, after I spoke at your networking event. Somebody asked, oh, you know that guy? And I said, yeah, I do. And they said, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know how you could do that. And I said, because I get him and I like him. And the way he repels people who don't get him resonates with me like nobody's business. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, well, you don't get him, or you find him offensive or arrogant or whatever your story is. Yeah, he did that on purpose. So you don't want to hire him. And he was like, why would he do that? I said, because he wants to work with clients that he likes. And if you don't get him, you're not going to hire him.
No, we wouldn't get along.
I literally blew the guy's mind. He was like, wow. He couldn't believe that was why you stand so authentically in who you are publicly, like why you wouldn't hide that piece, so you get more clients or whatever. I'm like, he doesn't want those clients. There's nothing worse than working with a PIA client,
What does that mean, PIA?
pain in the ass.
Oh. Yeah, not all money's good money.
Right.
Not everybody's for everybody.
Right.
That's why I never have a problem referring other coaches, because if you're going to hire me, you're not going to hire somebody else. And you're definitely not going to hire me if you're going to hire somebody else. We're not doing the same thing.
Right.
You're not cursing your clients out and calling them idiots and losers and giving them diarrhea. I am.
You do that?
Yeah, and I think
people that nervous.
But that's the thing, like and I think the other lesson that people miss in all of that is that like they'll hear that from you, Sajad, and then it's just like, oh, so I have to be this, like that's immediately where the brain goes. Just like, well, once again, you've missed the entire point. It's being purposeful and deciding who you are. And that's what so few of us do, maybe until later in life and all of that, of like, not just letting ourself be out there, but any version of self is manufactured in the sense of getting in touch with your value and who you want and what you want to present to the world and who you want to be. If we are moving through this life and getting better and all that, we're making a decision to be this type of person and going on that track, but being purposeful with that, and then that second half, which is a big leap, is presenting that to the world wherever you show up, at some level.
Yeah.
And that's the good stuff, it's like, find yours, and just like we're having a conversation here, like, man, that's a big lesson to get, and to really let in when just like, man, I like, like I would never do this, and this, but man, what's the nugget? Like, what's that nugget there of just like, oh man, oh, I see what's going on here. This is great, and finding that. And when you approach anybody in any situation with that mindset, like, wow.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Yeah. David told a good story today on our live stream together about kind of how he started his gratitude practice. I don't know how many years ago it was, but it came out of necessity, and it actually changed his trajectory. And he didn't decide to be a speaker until you were how old, David? 60?
62, 10 years ago. Did you want me to comment on that? Or?
I don't know if you want to.
No, I just think to me, it was a coping mechanism. And I maintain, my wife died of a prescription pill overdose at 38, and she got hooked on Vicodin and Oxycontin and that stuff and died when my sons were 4 and 14. And both the combination of that plus my dad's suicide and my mom's death when I was younger made me think I've got to get a coping mechanism. I don't think prescription medication is the key, and all these other drugs and other things you can do. I guess they give some people some temporary relief, but in the long term, there's many problems with destructive aspects as well as deadly aspects of them. But gratitude, and a buddy of mine, to me, it's kind of funny. A buddy of mine said, you need to get a gratitude journal. This is, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, whatever. And so I got one, and then I started writing, and I noticed a huge difference. I'm writing, and it's just 5 minutes every day, everything I'm grateful for, and my health, and my sons, my friends, the fact that I'm healthy and can get around, especially taking care of myself, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, wow, this is quite a coping mechanism here. And everybody needs them. In fact, even as I've gotten older, I'm a lot, even with Dana dying, I'm a lot less judgmental of addicts and people that have addictions and things than I used to be, because people are just trying to get some relief.
Mm.
You know, they may not make the best choices because, as I say, some of them are destructive, some of them are deadly. A lot of them are deadly. But people, this life thing, and I think I'm about the oldest one here. I just turned 73, and it's like, it's freaking hard. And so you got to figure out stuff that's going to help you. And it just really helped me. And then I thought, I always wanted to be a speaker. Wow, maybe I could make gratitude my subject, and it kind of evolved from there. So yeah, out of need, but also a very healthy coping mechanism. And as I think I said on the live stream, it's life itself is so negative. Everybody dies, and there's a lot of bad stuff that happens. We're in is about as crazy as a world as you can get right now. But you can make a choice, and you can choose how to live your life. You can get out of bed on the left side or right side. You can be up or down. And I choose gratitude. And I tell people, you can choose an attitude of gratitude today, and your life will look much different. But it's a free country. And you know, I've noticed back to this thing about the connections with people, everybody here, as well as on all these other calls and breakouts. A buddy of mine once said, I've had some great friends that have become acquaintances. And I've had a lot of friends that become acquaintances. They're not my friends anymore. And it's just, they just have a different path. I'd rather be around people like this group that inspire the hell out of me and want me to be even better and reach farther and higher. And like, especially my age group, is that one word I don't use ever, will never use, is retire. I will never retire. I'm going to speak into my 70s, 80s, 90s. But some of my friends that are retired, I don't see them anymore because they're the most boring people I've ever been around. And I don't need to hear about your stupid golf game and how many lattes you had at Starbucks today. So anyway, but so it's fun to be around that person that makes you want to reach higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
to jump on that too, like the other extension of that, of like friends to acquaintances, is really, I guess, you know, really stepping back and looking at behavior too, right? And going, oh, you know, I've reached out all these times. You know, we've known each other for 30 years. I reach out, we do that, you know, and there's no intention there. And again, it's that exact thing of just, you know, it's your path, right? Like
Yeah.
there's no more energy going to that. You know, there's too many amazing people in the world. And it's just like you're showing me with your actions like what these 30 years mean. So cool. That's sad. We'll have a, you know, that's great. If we see each other in the street, we'll have a nice little catch up conversation. We'll be on our way again. And you know,
Mhm.
but it is just kind of framing those things.
Yeah, I did a little experiment with two friends that I made in adulthood. And I used to be the instigator. I was the person who would do the group text message and be like, yo, you two, it's been a while. Let's go to dinner this Thursday, or let's grab drinks on Friday. And I was always the one keeping the circle going. And when COVID hit, you know, obviously we're not meeting in person. I did the same thing and said, you know, hey, let's meet on Zoom, drink a bottle of wine apiece, and like have some laughs. And there was no, I don't know how to use Zoom. I don't want to download that. I don't want to do that. Okay, cool. And then, you know, when COVID ended, I said, all right, I'm not going to be the instigator anymore. I'm just going to see if this group is going to continue, or was it all because I was doing the reach out? And it literally was because I was doing the reach out. I've since run into one of those people at Target, and she said, oh my God, it's been forever. I said, I know, I haven't heard from you. Where have you been? What have you been doing? And she told me, and she said, we should grab coffee, or we should do happy hour. I'm like, happy to. Plan it. Let me know when it is, and I'll be happy to show up. It's been 3 months. Haven't heard a damn thing. You know, so a lot of times people will say, oh, we should get to know each other. We should have a virtual coffee. We should collaborate. And then you never hear from the person. So to me, I think a lot of people say, oh, we should grab coffee. We should do dinner sometime. And they don't really mean it. It's just like filler for people.
And then they say in their head, well, bless her heart.
Oh,
I read an article last week that I would love to have you guys guess. It was called The Likability Factor. And they talked about why some people like people so much. And they had a list of the top 10 reasons. And the number one reason why people like other people, does anybody want to guess what it is?
What they do for them, how they make them feel.
Close. Any other guesses?
mm-mm.
See, I guess listening, because people don't listen. People, they just don't. And Suzanne and I were talking about it a little bit this morning. No, it's close to Jod. It was, they ask questions. They ask them a lot of questions. And I think it's so cool. And it's so, when I did my podcast for a while, people would say, can you send me all the questions? And I go, no, I don't. I'm going to ask you one question. You're going to answer it. And I'm going to have 10 more based on what you just said. And that's because I listen. And it's like Sajad's out on the road a lot. He's out in the trailer. Where the hell are you? What are you in Nevada now? Where are you traveling? It's just interesting to me. But people are so busy talking about themselves. And I thought, what a great example of if you just listen to somebody and let them talk. And I even mentioned in a listening module that I do in my talk is that 2-3 word phrases that will get you more friends than you could ever imagine. Tell me more is one of them. And then what is the other one? And when people are, let them keep talking. And then what? Tell me more. And they'll finally stop at some point, but they'll think you're the greatest person they ever met.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts about that. So I've seen when I was in social work for 16 years, I would take people to lunch. I would pay for lunch. I'd ask them questions all about themselves. And then at the end, I'd say, let me know how I can help you out. And anytime they tried to ask me a question, I would rapidly answer it and defer back to them. And at the end of the meetings, everybody said, oh, Mr. Sid, that guy's a great guy. They knew nothing about me. That's my nickname in the streets. They knew nothing about me. They wouldn't agree with me on race, gender, sexuality, economics, politics, religion. If I said anything about what I believed, they would not like what I said, most likely, because even my friends don't agree with me about pretty much anything. So, but yeah, just by asking questions. And then the other thing is, in week 5 of my program, I have my clients send me their pitch meetings, the videos, and it's so interesting. I now understand why women say their man doesn't listen, because men don't really listen. They don't listen. I'm like, that's not, why did you say that? Like, the 2 main barriers that normally come up in sales are, I don't have the time or I don't have the money, right? And my clients, especially my male clients, will address the opposite issue or a different issue. And I'm like, that's why did you not listen to what that's not what that person said. They didn't say they didn't have the money. They didn't say they didn't see the value. They said they didn't have the time. So you should have addressed the time. Or if they bring up time, my clients will say, well, don't you see the value in this? They didn't bring up the value. They brought up I'm like, why are you not fucking paying attention? Why are you not listening? The person is right there. You're trying to make money. The best way to make money is the person will tell you how to sell them. Listen to what they say and then regurgitate it back. Make sure you show that you understand what the person's saying.
Mhm.
All right, I have 3 random other thoughts.
Okay.
This goes to what Lisa said about fitting in. This is a benefit of massive trauma. So I've been dealing with racism since I was a kid, and I've been a freak and a social outcast ever since I was a child. That's not intentional. That's not contrived. That's not an effort I've put into life. It's just, I've always been an outcast since I was a kid. And so there's a benefit there, which at a certain point, I asked my best friend about it, because Larry had said to me, he's like, you do care what people think though. And like, no, I don't give a fuck. And he's like, that's possible, but probably not true. So I asked my best friend about it, and he said, well, it was a coping mechanism. So my parents didn't protect me when I was getting jumped and being called a nigger. I complained to the school administration. They wouldn't protect me. He said, don't start problems at our school. I moved from a lower class neighborhood to a rich white one at the beginning of the Iraq War. And so I dealt with a lot of racism, and my parents didn't protect me. The teachers didn't protect me. I was told I was going to get killed, and I was 12, 13 years old. So I thought it was true, because when you're a child and somebody says that to you, you think that's real. Plus I was getting jumped every day and nobody was protecting me. And so being outcast and going through that for years helped me to, I think as a coping mechanism, made me not care what other people think. Because if I cared, I mean, it still hurt me. I was still depressed and suicidal. But if I really let it affect me, I would have killed myself. And so that is the benefit of trauma. Like when we look back at horrible things that happened to us, like David with his wife, then you find a different way than pills. There's always these benefits to massive trauma. Then when I was 17, I was diagnosed with an incurable terminal disease. I was in a wheelchair 8 months. I was on life support 4.5 days. I was given 3 to 10 years to live. And now I'm super old. I'm just really good looking. And so that's another thing where you have a perspective like this shit. None of this, what David was talking about, sounded very existential from my perspective. There's not really much to worry about. Like the idea of worrying about what other people think of me is, I think you should be conscious of your consciousness and understand how you're being perceived, because otherwise personally and professionally that can be damaging. But to actually care what somebody that doesn't know me thinks of me makes no sense to me. I have 23 friends. I have my mom, dad, brother, and sister. I have intimate relationships. I'm loved and respected by my friends and family, even though they disagree with me about everything. And so then, and the other thing is that hate is love. It's strong energy, especially in business, right? So there was a very powerful networking group. They had a meeting of 50 people where they spent 30 minutes going through my LinkedIn post, discussing whether or not it was appropriate, good marketing or bad marketing. A half hour of 50 people going through my LinkedIn post. Two of my former clients were there, and one of them texted me afterwards, and she texted me, "You're a fucking genius." And I said, "What happened?" She's like, 50 people just spent 30 minutes going through your posts. And I'm like, "Oh, that's fantastic." And I'm like, "What were they saying?" She said, "Most of them said you're an idiot." I'm like, that's great. 50 people just discussed how dumb I am for a half hour by going through my marketing material.
Right. And if you can't go, oh, I see what he did at the end of that. Like if you find yourself in that conversation at minute 28 and you're just like, hang on, guys. That's great.
Well, so that's the polarizing thing. You're either for it or against it. And there's something magical about being for or against something, staying out of that gray zone. There's nothing worse than the gray zone of, one, for yourself, indecision. I'm not sure what to do. Should I do that? Should I do this? I'm not sure. Indecision, right? The gray zone with other people. Maybe I should hire her. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe it's valuable. Maybe it's not. And by being polarizing, either with your content, your videos, whatever, or your sense of humor, even like Sajad does, you force people out of the gray zone, and you may force some people into the no way, stay away from him zone, but that's better than having people in the gray zone following you around, wondering, like, is this guy for me or not? Does that make sense?
It's an interesting thing that just came up that I hadn't thought about before too, because I don't think I don't have that, and I want it more. I want more, a little more polarizing, not from, hey, you're an idiot, ha ha ha, but like, hey, this is what I stand for, right? Like when it comes to this and that, like just being more purposeful that. But what I consider a great thing and a superpower of the gray zone, of because the world is great, right? Like it's great. And from an input, it's awesome because I don't, because I take in all the stuff and it's just like, and people want to be like, don't you think that's wrong? And I'm just like, yeah, maybe, because I see this and I see this is what I think that it's like the input being in that gray world is kind of great, and open and all of that. But then needing to flip that around and pick a side and on the output, that's interesting.
So I like that perspective because I think being in the gray zone sometimes with my clients is actually helpful. Being able to see other perspectives, like, I see Judy's point of view and I see Lisa's, but I'm somewhere in the middle. That's helpful when it's a client. Flipping it to the point where I'm either going to attract Lisa or repel Judy in order for them to want to work with me, that's something different. I love my belief statements for that. I have all my clients do 3 or 4 belief statements about what they believe in their business, their coaching practice. And one of mine got me a lot of flack a couple months ago, and I absolutely loved it, is I made a comment that coaching is not a program. It's not modules. It's not an online course. Coaching is a relationship with your coach, and my clients have my phone number. And I got more flack on Facebook for that. Like, coaching is a program, coaching is a group cohort, and I argued back with that coaching is not a program where you never get to talk to the coach. That's not coaching. That's a group course. And taking that stand pissed some coaches off that are connected with me, but it attracted a lot of people to me. So I want to do that more.
I would like to comment to Sajad. If I tuned into one of your or responded to one of your advertisements, for lack of a better word, of what your content was going to be that you were planning on presenting, and I could find that stated content valuable to me and my goals, getting to my goals, your presentation would probably not be terribly important. Just stay dressed from the waist down, but please.
It's the most impressive thing about it.
It just, the thing is for me, is to not distract your message, because it's your message that you said that you were going to provide insight into something that I was going to find valuable. If your presentation it can be, sometimes some people can get just too distracted by the personal style to be able to find the content that is valuable. It might take a few tries to tune into that person. But if I could get some of the content that I was hoping for, if some of that would come through and bleed through the presentation that I'm not used to and a little uncomfortable with, I would probably stay tuned for the whole session and maybe look for a couple more sessions, because gosh, after working with addictions in psych inner city, trust me, you just get, I never heard a swear word in my house growing up, ever. My mother would say GD, and that was the closest she could get to it. And if I'm driving and somebody gives me the finger, I'm like, oh my God, they gave me the finger. Oh my God. Yeah. And once I tried to give somebody the finger, because they were so awful. And I got my hand out my window, right? And I couldn't get that finger up. I kept getting the thumbs up thing. And I'm like, well, I couldn't do it. It just was not happening. It's not that I decided intentionally don't do it. It's like I wanted to, but it just wasn't available at that time. And I've done it one time since then, and it felt a little strange, but it kind of was all right. But anyway, so do you hear what, that's all that aside, but the way you're talking about your style and your presentation, I'm kind of curious. So that curiosity would draw me to whatever.
Yeah. And it's also, he knows his platform too. So, on TikTok, he might do something a little more kitschy, a little more real, raw. And on LinkedIn, when he was allowed to play on LinkedIn, which he's not allowed to play there anymore, that's a whole nother side story. He was much more buttoned up. I mean, as buttoned up as he could get.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I
have
think
three-
it's knowing your audience too, knowing where you're at.
Yeah, that was one of my 3 thoughts. So 3 thoughts. One is consistency. So when you consistently show up the same,
Mm,
then people start to trust. There's been, especially women, especially feminist women, have hated me for months, and then they get to know me and they see I'm consistent and I'm consistently adding value to everybody that I'm around. That's my number one goal when I go anywhere, is to add value to people. And that's what I teach my clients to do too. Don't sell, add value. People will hire you. So I'll connect people with people. They'll mention something. I'll give them a hookup or a video or something, always being useful, right? And then being consistent with that.
mhm.
Then some of those people end up being like super fans of mine who hated me for 2 months. I'm sure they were thinking, oh crap, I got to see this fucking guy again, right? And then after 2 months, they're commenting and reacting to all my content, you know? I'm thinking of one woman in particular, but anyways, yeah, I present differently in different situations. So
Mhm.
this is for me, an intellectual conversation with my friend Suzanne and her people. And so there's that. And then there's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. There's my networking event. There's me at my house with my girlfriend, me playing with my dog in the backyard. There's different versions for different environments. When I present, so for my networking group, the goal is to make it fun as the host, and to highlight the speaker, and to make the rooms business. And so there's that. Then when I present for Suzanne or anywhere else, it's going to be 10 minutes of massive value. How to close 90% more deals, how to run business meetings, operating with intention, how to be productive. It's going to be 10 minutes of all value, maybe cursing, but probably not. I mean, it's going to be, I present differently in different environments. It depends on what it is. I'm conscious and intentional of what I'm doing. There's a method to the madness. There's always a plan with everything that I'm doing. And then lastly, I think it goes back to what Suzanne said in the beginning, is it's the attraction of the ideal client. So if you get upset with curse words, there's no way you should hire me. Because I say racial slurs, I say homophobic slur, I say whatever it takes to get my clients to move. And I'm breaking people out of themselves and making them conscious of their consciousness and calling them out on all their lies. And I'll do whatever it takes to get my clients to be successful. And so, I mean, they end up crying and they end up getting sick and all kinds of stuff. And so you have to be strong to hire me.
Mhm.
And not saying that a person, or not say strong, that sounds insulting. You have to understand where I'm coming from, that I look at this as my job, and my job is to help you make a lot more money. And I'm not your friend, and I don't care about your feelings, and I don't believe in society, and I don't believe in PC or social norms. And I'm going to do it how I do it. And I don't care what you think. I don't care how you, one of my clients, she sent me a 2-page letter one time, how she was crying all night because of the things I said to her. And I emailed her back, why did you send this to me? I don't care. This is not I'm not a therapist. My sister's a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. So yeah, again, I think it goes back to 96% of people don't like me, and that's okay, because I have a lot of money, because 4% of people really like me. And those are just that's just the proper client for me. It would be bad to hire me and then you're gonna hate me.
Yeah. I
That would
mean,
be,
I think if more coaches, consultants, service providers would tell the truth to their clients, I think that's the hardest part, is showing up and not caring if I upset my clients, because I'm actually here to upset them. I mean, in a way, right? We're trying to make changes. Changes feel hard. Changes feel difficult. If that's upsetting,
it is upsetting.
sometimes it is.
It's
Sometimes,
the same thing with dating too, though. Like, when you care too much, you'll not get a girlfriend. When you really
Right.
don't care, you'll get lots of girlfriends. When you
Mhm.
don't care about getting clients, you will get a lot of clients. I put at the end of all my LinkedIn posts, please, if you're an idiot, please don't hire me. And that got a lot of people to get on my calendar to say, well, who are the idiots? I'm like, I don't know. Are you an idiot? You know? And the top marketing guy out of the UK, I'm friends with him. He said, Sajad, I see this brilliant thing you're doing now, which I didn't realize I was doing. He's like, every post says, don't hire me. It's the don't hire me approach to getting hired. You know, it's the same thing with like, if you like the women I date have master's degrees and they're gorgeous and they have money and they can have any man they want. And every man likes, I mean, most men like the women that I date. They're brilliant, they're gorgeous, they're cool. And other men can't get them because they want them so bad. And it's the same thing with business and money. When you repulse, when you want it that bad, you come across as like jittery and weird. There's a lot of people that 3 weeks after they hire me, I say, why did you hire me? Especially with the males that hire me. And they say, I just wanted whatever you had. I just wanted to feel how you feel because you seem like you're very peaceful. You just get to do whatever you want. I wanted that. It wasn't about what I was selling. They wanted to feel like that. So anyway, I talked a lot, but
Yeah, I've been told that numerous times that it wasn't so much the package that I offered or, you know, the A to B journey that I offered. They wanted the confidence and the ease and the just the overall feeling that I gave them about what I was doing. Maybe it's because I like what I do. I don't know. But being more repelling in that message, telling people no too that have wanted to hire me has been kind of powerful. I told somebody no this morning who asked for a call with me, and I said, you're not ready yet. You need to do this, 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 and this, and then I'll email that to you. And once you do that, then let's talk again. And she was like, well, like, I'm ready to get started. I'm like, well, I'm not ready for you yet until you. And that garners a certain amount of respect. It does. And I don't do it for that reason.
Well, no, but it's I mean, of yourself. I mean, she's one person that may tell somebody else, but that's a promise to yourself and a standing in your own beliefs and like living it. And then that energy, that's what attracts, 100 more folks for sure.
But and again, that's like what Sajad said about being needy. Like, I don't need the client. I don't have to cave to what they need and want. It's about doing what's best for them. So that's attractive to people as well.
I think you also, I think my favorite, I like, how much I like you, Suzanne, right? Like,
I don't. Tell me again.
You're brilliant, you're beautiful, you're funny, you're an intellectual. If you were a 26-year-old Black girl, I'd marry you.
He just told me the same thing before this call, so don't take
really?
it.
I have to be 26 and darker. Okay.
That's the hair, Jason. I think also, I think that when you are yourself, you allow other people to be themselves. So the majority of my clients are Christians and pretty hardcore Christians. And they don't curse, a lot of them, most of them. But they can be themselves, but they're like real Christians, like the kind where they let other people, they're not judgmental towards others, right? They're just secure in their own faith. And so as long as, I think by like Suzanne, like I said, I think my favorite thing about her, she makes me feel free to be myself, although I do that regardless, but she makes me comfortable I think she said some things last night that I was like, holy crap, that's horrible and hilarious and so sexy.
What did we say?
That's the shit I would say. We're just both inappropriate according to social norms. But I think that frees other people to be themselves, regardless of what themselves, whatever that self is. You can be a non-cursing Christian. my dad's a Muslim conservative capitalist U.S. patriot. My mom's an atheist socialist revolutionary, and they've been married 56 years.
I love
So
that.
my sister's a Buddhist, my brother's an atheist, I'm a student of philosophy, probably an existentialist, if anything. So, I think that, and that's the same thing with Kristen Spencer and I. We can agree we don't have to agree about everything in order to have relationships with one another or to work with one another. You just have to accept, I'm not going to tell you to start cursing and you're not going to tell me to stop cursing. I'm not going to tell, you're free to be you, whatever that is that you are, and I'm going to be me. Yeah.
Well, I made a comment. I can't remember what group it was in. It might have been your group, Sajad, about people that pitch slap you right away on social media, DMing, or even on a call. And I made a joke about it. I said, yeah, it's like, would you go to a party, a cocktail party, and walk in to the most attractive girl and say, great ass? It's not going to get you a date.
No.
Stop doing it on social media. That actually made someone book a call with me and say, I need to talk to you about how you create clients. I was like, oh, you liked the great ass statement. And they were like, well, I pitch people all the time before I've actually met them or listened to them or anything. And I said, well, that doesn't get you dates, does it? And he was like, no, it doesn't.
Yeah,
So
that's true. I was talking with this guy at a restaurant. There's a place that I go to that's like Cheers. I go to the bar. The cocktail waitress says, all right, winter drink or summer drink tonight, Lisa. And she would know exactly which one it was. And so there was this guy at the other end of the bar, and anyway, he asked me out the next time he saw me because he said, well, we had a comfortable conversation. It was a good conversation, but the whole conversation was about me asking him questions and me listening to his answers. And then he wanted me to meet him at this club. It's called the Worcester something, which is the guys show off their girlfriends pretty much by bringing them there. And he said, that's when I was working in the evening. And he said, well, why don't you meet me for lunch and on your way to work? And he considered that a date. And he said, it would be easy for me. He said that. And those two things, the first thing put me off from even a good conversation when I was asking him questions and then giving him 10 minutes to answer the questions or whatever. And then, no. So that's not going to make a date, kind of what you were getting to. I was trying to find my origination.
But it's not going to make a sale either.
No.
And by me relating the two, it actually attracted somebody to me. Now, I don't know if he's going to, become a client or not. But it made him say, what am I doing wrong in the DMs? Because that's the reaction I'm getting. It connected his pitchiness and salesiness to being needy in the dating world. Now, I don't know, maybe he is needy in that area too, probably. And it related something in his brain so that he was able to connect the two in a different way. And I think the more we can do that for our ideal clients, the better.
You probably can't pick up women either.
Yeah, I could probably teach him a thing or two about that as well, but that's a whole nother course coming later in my life.
I wrote a book about that.
Did you?
It's called The Art of Pimping, 9.5 Inches of Proof. I wrote it when I was 20. And then
Is it an actual book or are you BSing?
Yeah, I got a book. I'll email it to you. I also have The Art of Pimping, Tips to Social Intercourse.
Social intercourse. Okay. All right.
It's pickup books on picking up women. But it's the same philosophies. And most of my clients are women, and I did ask them, and they're strong people too, strong women. And I asked them, about, that line of what you say, Suzanne. We say a lot of the same kind of things like that. I said, you're approaching the most beautiful girl at the bar and you're like, oh my God, you're so gorgeous. Can I buy you a drink? That's what you're doing with your business stuff as well. You're just jittery and you're weird and you're desperate and you're creepy. You're coming across as
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah.
As opposed to not, it's operate with intention, but don't be concerned with the outcome. So yeah, I'm going up to, oh shit. Okay, here's a funny story. I'm at a networking event. I'm pitching this young lady. She's a administrator at University of Chicago, which is like Harvard, Stanford, Yale. It's an Ivy League school, right? And she's gorgeous. And so my pitch is normally 8 minutes, but she's asking lots of questions. So it ends up being a 20-minute pitch. And then she goes, yeah, I'm an administrator with the university. I'm not interested in hiring you, but I think it sounds very valuable what you do. I said, that's fine, because we've been falling in love. She's like, when did that happen? I said, 20 minutes ago when I walked over here. She's like, I didn't realize that. She's like, but I'm not looking for a commitment right now. So now I've struck out twice within 2 minutes, right? So I'm like, all right, that's fine. So then we're just having sex. She goes, yeah, well, let's talk about that. I said, okay. Well, you can't be with anybody else when you're with me, because I find that to be disgusting. And she said, well, that sounds like commitment. I said, no, because I'm not going to track where you're going. I'm not going to know who your friends are. You can date other men, just don't get naked with them. She's like, nah, that's too much of a commitment for me. So I said, all right, well, that's fine. It was a pleasure meeting you. And then I went away. But I tell this story to my clients about getting rejected in business as well, that it doesn't, the first rejection didn't hurt my feelings. The second rejection didn't hurt my feelings. The third rejection, it wasn't, we weren't going to fall in love. She wasn't going to hire me, and we weren't having sex. But it's fine. It's fine. I'm on to the next potential prospect, client, person. It is my clients get heartbroken when they get rejected. They take it
No,
very
I think one of the things that helped with that is coming from healthcare. You get rejected all the time, but it's not because I wasn't selling my product. I was selling someone else's thing. It was no skin off my back. If you don't want to fix your cavity, or you have yellow teeth or whatever, right? And I think because it was no skin off my back, I got used to still presenting whatever needed to be done. And if you don't like it, that's fine. I think that was really helpful in building that muscle of not caring if you're rejected or not. Anyway, well, let's wrap it up. We're a little after 1. Let me hit stop recording.